All right, welcome everybody. So today for our eBay training, we're doing an eBay Q&A, which is great for you guys that are here live. If you're watching this recorded, hopefully some of these questions maybe represent some of the questions of your own, and you can learn from them too. So I'm just gonna read out questions as I get them, and we'll answer them. We'll go for about 20, maybe 25 minutes. Answer as many questions as we can, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. None of these questions have been pre-screened. I'm going to screen them a little bit as I read through them. Stuff that's irrelevant we may not get to. It just depends on how many questions come through. Okay. All right. So let me first of all just make this full screen so you guys see that. Okay. Everybody see my screen? Should just be a blue screen that says eBay Q&A. Yeah. Okay. Most of you guys can. It looks like. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and start. All right. Here comes a question from Violetta and William. You guys ask, should I lower our prices on eBay? We're not having too many sales. Without a whole lot of context there, Violetta, let me just answer that by saying this. The price lever is usually the last lever I pull before I assume I'm doing something wrong. When something's not selling, you have to ask yourself, why is it not selling? And there's usually a host of reasons that come before the price is too high. Okay, I would even suggest before you consider lowering the price that you maybe increase the price slightly, because oddly enough, I know that seems crazy, but even an increase in prices often will improve your conversion rate. Okay. So here's what I would do first. I would look at your title. I would make sure I'm actually using my full 80 characters. I'd look at my pictures. If there's any way I can improve my pictures or get more pictures of the product, I would do it. Going back to the title, though, a lot of times we create a title, it's 80 characters long, and we assume that we're using all the best keywords when in fact we may not be. So I'd really encourage you to look long and hard at that title and maybe make some adjustments from there. Maybe adjust the pictures, and make the adjustment on your price be kind of the last priority. You may even look at your return policy. I've seen some of my clients that tell me they're struggling and they're not selling very many items, but they have a no return policy, which could be the main reason that's preventing them from making sales, because these days it's very rare that you get people that will buy if there's no return policy, right? So should you lower your price? In short, Violetta, no, probably not, at least not until you've made a bunch of changes like this and you've given it some extra time. The other thing you got to consider too is just the time frame. If you've got a product listed for a week and it hasn't sold, your knee-jerk reaction shouldn't be, hey, I better lower my price, or I've got to make a change. Give your items time to marinate. Give them 4, 5, 6 weeks. If nothing has changed at that point, then let's consider making some adjustments, and then give them a few more weeks. And then if nothing changes, pull the item and sell something else. Okay? That would be my best advice as far as that's concerned. Let's move along then. Lawrence, you say, how many eBay products do you believe we should have listed for sale? Well, I mean, that depends a little bit on your strategy, Lawrence. If you're doing mostly drop shipping items, very, very rarely have I seen a drop shipping store on eBay do well enough to be sustainable, unless they've got 600, 700, 800 listings going. Really, I know that sounds crazy, right? But I look at my very best clients over the years, and I compare them to my clients that struggle, and the key difference between the two is sheerly found in the numbers. So, my client that's got 45 listings and is struggling to sell, that's going to happen with 45 listings versus my clients that has 600, 700 listings. It's a slow build to get to that point. But if you're doing drop shipping, that's where I would be aiming. Try to get up to that 1,000 marker at some point, and then maintain it at that level. And you will find regular sellers. You will make money using the retail drop shipping strategy, so on and so forth. Now, if your strategy is different and you're using stuff that you're sourcing out of China, I've got clients with 100, 150 listings that they're carrying their own inventory where they're making pretty darn good money just out of Chinese products that they've been importing or garage sale type products. So it depends a little bit on your strategy for me to be able to answer that well. But most of you guys are doing a lot of the retail drop shipping or the wholesale drop shipping stuff, and that would be my best answer for that. Hundreds, working your way up to the 1,000 mark, if not more. Teresa, you say you've got a product that's not selling. Take my advice from the first question. If you've got something very specifically that's not selling, don't let it be an initial price drop. Consider increasing the price ever so slightly, but don't decrease it yet because you could be leaving money on the table. Look at your title, look at your pictures, look at your return policy, look at your shipping policies. Let's make sure that stuff has been done well. And let's take another look at your title and maybe improve it. And then if all else fails, then yes, consider coming down on price with the bag. In this case, you're talking about a baseball bag. You guys got to remember too that when you're listing products on eBay, not everything has the demand of an iPad. Okay, not everything has the demand of an iPhone. Meaning, in any marketplace, there's certain products that are really popular, and you're going to have a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers, and so it's very easy to sell those types of products at the right price. But other products that are very unique, maybe a little bit different, maybe just don't have quite the demand that other things do. Those just by nature take longer to sell because there's not as many buyers in the marketplace. So you may be priced perfectly with a really great listing and absolutely nothing is wrong with it other than it doesn't have enough demand to merit regular sales every week or every couple of weeks. I've told you guys many times that I've got products that sell only but once every 4 to 6 weeks, and that's true. Some products only sell once a month or so. Don't pull them down or assume you're doing something wrong too early. You've got to give these listings time to marinate. Okay, so moving along. Hopefully these are answering a few of your questions. I'm doing a little skimming through these. Barbara, I'm not sure on yours without getting into your account. And that Barbara's question is a little more of a technical sort of eBay question, and I would probably go right to them on that because I haven't had a similar problem with being able to sell similar. So I would take that to them. Cindy says, one of my challenges this week has been I listed my very first dropship item from my supplier. Congratulations. Good for you for doing that. I forgot to change the ship from location from my city state to the city and state of my supplier. Is that an issue? No, it's really not. Where your item location becomes an issue is if you were selling locally, and this isn't local sales. So as long as your shipping information is correct, in that you're saying that it's going to get to if I'm a buyer, you're saying it's going to get to me within 5 business days, and you're doing 2 days handling. As long as that's not going to change, then it doesn't really matter where the item location is. You don't need to necessarily change that. Just make sure your shipping information is correct. That's the important thing. Oh, thanks, Russell. I appreciate that. Appreciate the heads up on that. I won't share that with everybody, but I'll share that with those that are concerned with that supplier. I appreciate that. Charles, this goes back to our some of our conversations so far, but you're saying, should I relist a product that did not sell the first time? Yeah, you should. I mean, remember, as a general rule, I say 4 to 6 weeks. You shouldn't pull a product off the shelves until you've given it a solid month or month and a half to sell. Right? I mean, I've told the story about the brown couch a million times, and I'll just briefly summarize it again. There's a brown couch, a leather brown couch that I had a client sell, all but just once every month or so, and we were on the verge, the first time he listed it, of pulling it off after it didn't sell for 3 or 4 weeks, because we were like, oh, this thing's not going to sell. It's overpriced. It was it was really sort of unique looking, very expensive, and the knee jerk reaction again was like, okay, well, let's just pull it off because this thing's not going to sell. But then a week later, it did sell, and he was making good money off of every sale because it was kind of an expensive couch. And then for the rest of the year, and I haven't followed up on him on this about this, but I would assume it's still selling. He was selling that once a month on a regular basis. So we don't want to leave money on the table just because we're impatient and we want to try out more and more listings. Let them marinate. Lawrence, you say with focusing on e-commerce, AdSense, blogging, affiliate marketing, and all the other stuff that we train about in this program, I've just been maintaining products that have interest in reevaluating the prices if needed or relisting if needed. That's fine. I mean, the tough thing about what we do and what we teach you guys to do is eBay is a portion of the business, right? And so the more you guys learn about the program, you'll find that we teach a lot about eBay early on. We do affiliate marketing, we do blogging, we do social media, we do e-commerce sites, and all of these things at the same time sometimes become very difficult and overwhelming for one person to handle, right? It's a lot to do. And some of you guys come back to me after you've gone through a lot of the program and you say, Trevor, I was told, I only needed to spend, 10 hours a week or so on this. And I'm spending 40 and I can't keep up with it all. Well, that's because, part of the goal of the program is to teach you a little bit of everything. And in that process, our hope is that you find something that works really well for you. If I surveyed all of my my clients that have come and gone, that have graduated our program, I don't think there's many that are killing it on eBay, they're killing it on their blog, they're busy on their e-commerce site, unless they've hired a little bit of help, or they've got a partner that they brought on, because it's a lot of work to do it all. We teach you guys, and we want you guys to understand and learn how to do it all. And if you can get all parts of this thing going, then bring on some help, because by that point you're probably making enough money to do it. But for many of you, you find one aspect of internet business that you really grasp onto and enjoy, and that could be eBay. That could be retail drop shipping on eBay, or wholesale drop shipping, or with some of my clients, it's been sourcing their own inventory, or it could be blogging or something else. And then that's what you do and spend most of your time on. Once you've learned it, applied it, and you've got it running, then yes, is it possible to work for 5 or 10 hours a week on this and maintain it? Yeah, of course it is. I have websites that I don't hardly touch at all that still generate income, right? We're trying to create some sort of an automation. So yeah, it's possible that can happen, but I hear you, Lawrence. It's hard sometimes to juggle it all, especially when a lot of you guys are either doing it by yourself or you're doing it with a spouse or significant other. It can be a little overwhelming. For titles, Rich, you want to ask about titles. Do the order of the words for the title matter, or is it just like a tag? I actually think the order does matter. eBay doesn't say anything about this, so everything that I've read from eBay and tried learning directly from them, they won't speak to the order. But I've seen where you order your most important keywords first, those are going to get a little more play. So yeah, I think if you know what those keywords are for you, load them up at the front. I think it does make a difference. Yeah. Elizabeth, you say this is basic, but suppose you sell a remote control car to a friend and he's asking you to get $175. Since you're new at this and his car is used and 2 years old, do you go ahead and try it at that price or lower? Used stuff sometimes, Elizabeth, is a little tougher to value, isn't it? I think that's true of any used product that you sell. It depends on the wear and tear on it, and it depends on the condition. But what I try to do when I've got something used and I'm not 100% sure what's really fair, I go out to eBay and check the completed listings. And I think some of you guys have seen this before, right? I'll just show you real quick if you're looking at my screen. If you go to eBay, you can do a search for anything to see what are called the completed listings. So at the top right here, there's this little advanced link. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see that better. Right over here at the top right, just right of the search button, you click advanced, and then you can come here and you can select find items, and I can type in red RC car or something, right? Whatever it is you're looking for. And then you can select completed listings, or you can select sold listings and do a search. And that will refine it to where it's only going to show you little RC cars that match what you're looking for. And what I always say in a free marketplace, something is worth what somebody is willing to pay for it, right? That's called current market value. So if you can see recently what other similar products have sold for, you might be able to get a pretty good idea of what your item is worth. Now, Elizabeth, your car that you're selling could be totally unique and not something anybody else has or has sold before. But sometimes you look for comparables. I guess it's similar to the real estate industry, right? Seldom do you have any two houses that are exactly the same. When you sell a home, they sit on varying property sizes and shapes with varying yard conditions, and the interiors are different, and the sizes are different, and the materials inside, and the upgrades, right? It's very hard to go apples to apples when you sell a house. So what do you do to figure out the value of a house? You look at comparables in the area, right? What is a similar home in square footage sold for in my area in the last couple of years, and maybe that gives you a better idea of market value. It's the same concept here on the internet. That's why you use eBay's completed listings. So I don't know if that helps answer that or not, Elizabeth. That's what I would do if I'm unsure about the value of something. Look for comparables on eBay. Okay, let's see. Oliver says, I can't afford California's Board of Equalization fee for collecting sales tax right now. I'm curious, what's that fee like in California, Oliver? If I sell something and a California resident buys, what can I do to stay legal? Don't sell. Yeah, I just wouldn't sell it to people in California. I've seen this on listings. List something and just in the listing say, sorry, we can't sell in the state of California. That's it. And if somebody from California buys, cite that on your listing and say, sorry, we can't sell to California state residents. Legally, we're not allowed to, and you can leave it at that. You don't have to say that on the listing, but in the description, you can say something like, we sell to the lower 48 except for California state residents, something like that. And then that way, you don't have to sell it, because really, the law is, and of course I'm not a lawyer, right? So take this with a grain of salt, but you're not able to sell something because you're supposed to be charging sales tax if you sell something locally in the state of California. But you may want to check a lawyer locally and just make sure that's the case. But that's kind of the case across the board in the United States. Cindy asks, is Kohl's.com, is that a good retail drop shipper to use? Well, I don't use them a whole lot myself. That doesn't mean they're not a good supplier, though. Do anybody want to try to answer that? Any of you guys use Kohl's at all and have some success with it? The thing about Kohl's is they've got pretty affordable stuff, and you can get a Kohl's card. There's usually some pretty good sales. I would imagine you could probably do fairly well with Kohl's. Although there's not any clients of mine in the recent future that have used them a whole lot, and I don't typically use them a ton. But as I say with most retailers, like, try them out. You laugh now, but because we use Walmart a lot as kind of like our training ground for a lot of you guys. But I mean, I've had clients do $6,000-7,000 a month, mostly out of Walmart in sales, right? So you find your own little niche within your own sphere of retail suppliers, and you can do great. Good question. Sorry if I go quiet for a sec. I'm just looking over questions. Barbara says they've had some out of stock issues for her. Okay. Yeah, good feedback. This question came in. Over the past week, I started using eBay on my cell phone to upload the photos and start a listing. Then used eBay on the computer to finish the listing. Okay. What I noticed too late is that my settings were different. My flat rate, free shipping went away and came out to be calculated. Some of my items said no returns. Has anybody else had this issue? I haven't. I haven't had that same issue, but I would imagine. Well, I don't list a lot off of my cell phone, so no, I'm not sure what to tell you. I haven't had that issue at all. I mean, really, the thing is you should sign into your eBay account on your cell phone and on your computer, and then by default be getting the same settings. But it doesn't sound like that's the case for you. That might be something you want to ask eBay about. Oh, and congratulations, Cindy. Cindy said she sold her first retail item this week. Good for you. AdSense question from Russell. This isn't eBay related, but since we don't have a ton of questions left, we'll take it anyway. Anyone else? Okay, so anyone else in the training sign up for AdSense but not gotten any ads populated on their site yet? For Russell, it's been about a week. Most of you, yeah. I mean, do any of you want to comment on that? Who have AdSense on a site? How long it took you to get your ads to show up? It can take as long as a solid week, but after that, it gets a little dicey. I think usually there's something we have to troubleshoot if it goes much beyond that. So if anybody wants to give some commentary on that, that's great. Lawrence, you say I bumped everything up to a 30-day listing and I'm not paying fees each time now for some reason. Well, I think a lot of that is because if you have something at 30 days, you're only listing that item technically once a month. Whereas if you're going a 7-day listing, that same listing is being relisted 4 times in a month. And so that's the difference. One listing 30 days it counts as one listing. One listing listed every 7 days counts as 4 listings. You multiply that by 30 or 40 items in a store, and you're going well over your monthly allotment of free listings. So that's probably why you're saving money that way. And I'd recommend that to any of you guys that are fee sensitive as far as that's concerned, because 30-day listings help to solve that issue. Rich says, if you have multiple listings and multiple suppliers, how do you suggest keeping everything organized? That's a good question. We really should do an organization webinar one of these times. But in short, I'll tell you what I do in my descriptions on my eBay listings. If it's coming from Amazon, at the bottom of the listing, I might type in something like AMZ dash and then make up a number. If it's coming from Walmart, at the bottom of my description, I might do a WM dash and then some number. Target TG dash and some number. You make up your own little code so that if the item sells, you know just exactly where it came from, and then you can go quickly find it. I know some of my clients have pretty elaborate spreadsheets that they keep, where they track every single listing and the link that goes out to the page where the supplier keeps the item. You can get very elaborate if you want to, but I like to do it just in my own descriptions. Good question. How do you get a tech at eBay to pick up? Well, I actually haven't had a lot of problems with that. I'll usually call in. It depends on the time of day too, because they're busier sometimes than others. But if you can call kind of in the middle of the day where a lot of people are at work, you'll have a better opportunity of getting somebody on the phone. And you have to try to get through all of their the robotic options that they give you. But I don't know. I usually just call their normal number and hit a bunch of options to the point where if I need to keep hitting the 0 button, I will, because sometimes that if you hit 0 enough, that'll sometimes hustle you over to somebody who you can actually get on the phone, and then you can ask them at that point, hey, this is my issue. Can you direct me to the appropriate department? Sometimes it just takes being a bit obnoxious, I guess, Barbara, unfortunately. These companies do everything they can to answer every single one of your questions without actually getting you on the phone, because then they don't have to pay people to be on the phone, right? But if you play your cards right, you should be able to get on with somebody. Yeah, there you go. There's some feedback right there. Thanks, Russell. Russell says, I call the normal number, the normal 800 number, and have been very successful in getting someone on the phone pretty quickly. So just sometimes there's no real trick there. Just try to call it at a more dead time of the day. Don't call after work or first thing in the morning. I find those are busy times. Okay, well, guys, I think we've gone now for probably a little longer than I had planned to. Hopefully, this was helpful. If you've got if you've got more questions, feel free to reach out to your coach. I think every once in a while it's nice just to do a little Q&A for our training. We can do this more in the future if you guys found this to be helpful. If not, we'll of course be doing our normal type trainings that we do on Fridays for eBay. But I don't know, once every 5, 6, 7 weeks, I like to do one of these. So glad you guys made it along for a few minutes with me. We'll see you guys next Friday, same time, same place, and enjoy your weekend and good luck on eBay this week.